Hello children, welcome to AIMS India's online classes. Biology session. Transportation, the circulatory system. Part 6. In the last class, we have studied about the coagulation of blood pressure, and how the materials transported within the plants. Concept we have seen. So let us briefly recall the concept, how the materials transported within the plants. In the lesson 1, nutrition, we have studied about the Van Helmont experiment on plants which get water that contain minerals from the soil through their roots. The water absorbed by the root and the food prepared by leaves are supplied to the remaining parts of the plant by vascular bundles. These vascular bundles are having xylem and phloem. In the root, the xylem tissue is situated towards the exterior, while in the stem it is arranged in bundles towards the center. So here, how the water is absorbed? By a mechanism. Are the roots directly in contact with the soil? How water is absorbed? All these things with the help of two activities we have studied. That is observing root hairs. That is one experiment. So in that activity, so every living cell acts as an osmotic system, isn't it? The cytoplasm lining of the cell wall acts as the semi-permeable membrane, and we have seen one figure also, LS of root, showing the relationship of root hair and soil water. So the epidermal cells, from the epidermal cells of the root hairs, the root hairs are lined by a single cell layer, okay, and that root hairs penetrate into the soil. Surrounding the soil, air spaces are present, and the soil water, okay, the soil water is extremely dilute. It is a solution of salts, water molecules. The concentration is more dilute than the concentration of the cell sap in the root hairs. Okay, therefore, what happened? Water will pass into the vacuole of the root hairs by osmosis. Okay, you can. What is osmosis? Moving of substances through plasma membrane when the two different concentrated solutions are separated by a plasma membrane, isn't it? Which you have studied in the 9th class. So here the entry of water dilutes the contents of the root hair vacuole so that it becomes more dilute than its neighboring cell. Okay, children. So, and we also discussed about one important term called root pressure. Okay, the total pressure exerted by the root hairs, okay, the total pressure or the pressure with which the root hairs absorb the water minerals, it is called as a root pressure. Root pressure is not the main cause of the movement of water in the xylem, but it is certainly one of the factor. The other factors are also responsible for this ascent of sap, or the movement of water and the mineral salts from roots to upper parts of the plant. Then what is the root pressure? So to understand this, today let us continue. Activity number 5. What is root pressure? So here take a regularly watered potted plant and cut the stem portion 1 centimeter above the ground like this. Then connect a glass tube by means of a strong tubing as shown in the figure, like this. The strong tubing material you have to take, cut the stem, okay, 1 centimeter above the ground, okay, potted plant we have taken, then insert a tube, then connect the glass tube by means of a strong tubing as shown in the figure. Then the size of the glass tube should be equal to the size of the stem. You have to select such a glass tube, the size or diameter which is equally, it should fit. Okay, take care while joining the tube and stem being bound tightly so that the water cannot escape from the tube. Okay, so now pour some water in the glass tube until water level can be seen above the rubber tube. So here the glass tube, the water level, so this is above the rubber tube. Mark the level of the water as M1. Okay, next, this is the setup. Next, continuation. So keep your arrangement aside for 2 to 3 hours. Then observe the mark of the water level. Okay, first M1, then observe after 2 to 3 hours the water level and mark it as M2 in the tube. The difference between M2 and M1 indicates the level of water raised by the stem because of the root pressure. This is because of root pressure. Okay, the water level increases in the tube. So we can see that there is a push from below due to root pressure on the columns of water in the xylem vessels, but this is high, and in some seasons it is nil. Okay, it is high in some seasons and it is low in some seasons. How does the water reach 180 meters? How does the water reach 180 meters high to the top of a tree like eucalyptus? Okay, so this means here the meaning is this root pressure is a small force. In herbs and small grass plants, the root pressure is sufficient to transport the water and minerals to the upper parts of the plant from the roots. But whereas certain trees which are very tall, in those plants this root pressure is not sufficient. Okay, so what is the other forces which help? The mechanism by which the water travels through the plant. So here in the previous experiment the water level is increased. What is the role of xylem in this action? Means the xylem vessels will transport the water from the roots to upper parts of the plant. The difference between M2 and M1 indicates the level of water raised in the stem. Because of the root pressure, the water level increases in the tube. That is the conclusion. Then mechanism by which the water travels through the plants. So we have seen that there is a push from below due to the root pressure on the columns of water in the xylem vessels, but this is not this is seldom high, and in some seasons it is nil. So how does water reach 180 meters high to the top of the tree like eucalyptus? Means let us recall the activity that we performed that you have performed in the lower classes. That is why inner side of the cover become moist. Here one image is given here, the picture. That is experiment showing the transpiration. So see the figure and answer the question. Why inner sides of the cover becomes moist? Where do these water droplets or water vapor come from? Okay, so we know that this is a type of evaporation of water through leaves. It is called transpiration. The water evaporates through stomata of the leaves and lenticels of the stem. So you know that out of the 100% of water which we pour to the plant, only 2% of the water is utilized for its metabolic activities. The remaining extra water will be eliminated out in the form of vapors through the stomata of leaves and the lenticels of the stem. This process is called transpiration. Okay, so when the leaves transpire, there is a pulling effect on the continuous column of water in the xylem vessels. The top end of these vessels are surrounded by the leaves mesophyll cells which contain cell sap. So the water is continuous from xylem vessels to the walls of the mesophyll cells. Mesophyll cells means the cells which are present in the leaves, from which it evaporates into the air spaces, causing a pull. A physical force is developed. Transpiration pull. Transpiration pull. Then the water column does not break because of this, because of its continuous molecular attraction, the attraction between the water molecules. This is a property of water. You demonstrate every time you drink through a straw. Okay, the water column does not break because of its continuous molecular attraction. This is a property of water. You demonstrate every time you drink through a straw. Just like when you drink a cool drink or any water with the help of a straw, how you will suck, the water column is maintained continuously. In the same manner, the water is lost, extra water is lost in the form of water vapor through the root, through the leaves, through stomata of the leaves and the lenticels of the stem. There is a continuous water column is maintained between the root hairs and the upper parts of the plant. Okay, as the water is lost and extra water is absorbed continuously, it is maintained. Okay, now we have a picture of a water conducting system of a tree. So water is absorbed by osmosis from the soil by the root hair. Let us proceed. So we have a picture of water conducting system of a tree. Water is absorbed by osmosis from the soil by the root hairs. Next, this is passed into the xylem vessels. See here, water is absorbed through a conducting system, absorbed by osmosis like this. A continuous water column. The arrow mark indicates the continuous water column. Okay, in the stem, from the roots, from the soil, the water and minerals are absorbed by root hairs. It enters the stem. By which process? By osmosis. So the xylem tissue carry the water and dissolved minerals up from roots into the stem. Next, the water and minerals reach the leaves. So evaporation of water from the leaves, transpiration, it maintains the continuous water column. As the water is evaporated, again water is absorbed from the roots. Okay, so this is passed into the xylem vessels which form a continuous system of the tube through root and stem into the leaves. Through root and stem into the leaves. So here is the water evaporates and releases into the atmosphere. The evaporation creates the main pull of water above the root pressure, which gives a variable and minor push from below. Okay, that is called transpiration pull. This results in a continuous column of moving water, the transpiration stream. It is also called the transpiration stream. Okay, is there any relationship between the transpiration and rainfall? Definitely. Okay, so evaporation and condensation. Okay, it is one of these two are important steps in the water cycle, so it plays an important role. The amount of water passing through a plant is often considerable. For example, an oak tree can transpire as much as 900 liters of water per day. Interesting fact. It follows therefore that areas of the forest significantly affect the degree of saturation of air above them, so that when air currents bring air which is already nearly saturated to a forest area, it becomes fully saturated and comes down as a rain. That's why tropical rainforests they are called. Okay, this is why the forest areas often have a higher rainfall than the areas nearby. Okay, how much water is transpired by the plants? Do you know? In fact is given here. How much water is transpired by plants? So each fully grown maize plant transpires 15 liters per week. 1 acre of maize may transpire more than 13,25,000 liters of water in a 100-day growing season. A big mango tree will transpire from 750 to more than 3,500 liters of water per day during a growing season. Okay, that's why trees play a very important role. Plants play a very important role in the causing of rainfall. Okay, let us proceed. So transpiration concept is completed. Now transport of mineral salts. Transport of mineral salts. You know that mineral salts are necessary for plant nutrition. Micro and macronutrients. Micro means which are required in small quantities. Macro means which are required in large quantities. And that they are obtained from the soil solution through the root hairs. So water and minerals are absorbed with the help of xylem tissue through root hairs. Okay, the salts are in the form of electrically charged ions. For example, sodium chloride Na plus Cl minus, magnesium sulfate Mg2 plus SO4 2 minus, bivalent. Okay, anions and cations, but they are not absorbed into the root hairs by the simple process of diffusion, but it involves the use of energy by the cytoplasm, which will be okay. So they use the energy, so that's why it is called as active transport. The transport of mineral salts by the roots is an active transport where they utilize the energy in the form of ATP. So once the ions are absorbed, the ions travel along with water in the xylem vessels and pass to the growing points of the plants where they are used for growth purpose. Okay, they may also pass laterally from xylem to phloem. Thus, mineral salts are one of the natural factors in the plant growth phenomenon. Plant growth phenomenon. Next, transport of manufactured food. So you know very well, plants prepare food material by a process called photosynthesis. What is the end product of photosynthesis? Sugars, glucose. That glucose is in the soluble form, so it is as soon as the glucose is formed, it is converted into a complex insoluble form that is called sucrose. Okay, so the food such as sugar is synthesized in the green parts of the plant, mainly the leaves, but this food has to be transported to all living cells, especially to actively growing cells and the cells which stores food. Okay, so we studied in the tissues, the conductive tissue in the plants, the complex tissue, xylem and phloem. Previously, the xylem vessels and the xylem tissue helps in the transport of water and minerals. So now we come across the phloem tissue. The veins of the leaf consist of xylem and phloem, and these tissues are continuous with the stem. The following experiment provide evidence that the food is transported in the phloem cells. So one simple experiment is given here. The phloem sieve tubes are extremely small, and the analysis of their contents is not easy. Okay, here a simple experiment is given. The phloem tubes, the biologist studied about the food transportation in the plants with the help of an insect. Here in the image you can see that is aphid. Okay, these are also called green flies. Okay, when you see these aphids, the clustering around the young stems of the plants, as they feed on the plant juices, to obtain this juice, an aphid pierces the plant tissue with its long needle like proboscis. With the help of a long needle like proboscis, it can be shown when a feeding aphid is killed and the stem carefully sectioned, the proboscis only penetrates up to a phloem sieve tube. So this proboscis also provides a ready-made means of obtaining the juice for analysis. The experiment can be done in this way. An aphid is killed. Okay, so an aphid is killed. Okay, then what they have done, while in the, so it is killed such that while it is in the act of feeding, and the body is then carefully cut away, leaving the hollow proboscis still inserted into the phloem. Okay, so it is found that because the contents of the phloem sieve tubes are under slight pressure and the fluid slowly exudes from the cut end of the proboscis in the form of drops. Okay, what the scientist has done, they killed the aphid, leaving the proboscis still attached to the stem. Okay, the cut portion of the proboscis, from that the fluids exudes out slowly, drop by drop. So these drops are then collected and analyzed. So the fluid is found to contain sugars and amino acids. They found they are sugars and amino acids. So this is the experiment where the sieve tubes, the components of phloem elements. Okay, so another experiment, it's not surprisingly the aphids absorb so much sugars from the phloem that they cannot assimilate all of it, and it excretes out of the body as a sticky syrup called honey dew. Okay, those aphids excreta, it is called honey dew. Leaves which have been attacked by aphids often feel sticky as a result of honeydew. Okay, so another experiment, ringing experiment it is. You may notice that sometimes the barks of the tree damaged more than a half, even then the tree is alive. How it is possible? How it is possible? So further experiments to illustrate the conduction of sugars by the phloem. Conduction of sugars by the phloem have been done by removing a ring of bark from a shoot to expose the wood like this. Okay, here. So remove all the tissues from the center outwards, including the phloem. After a few days, when the tissues above and below the ring were analyzed, it was shown that the food had accumulated above the ring like this. The food is accumulated above the ring, but was not present below the ring. But was not present below the ring. Here, no growth. Okay, if it is left for some more time, the stem increases in thickness immediately above the ring, but no growth occurred below the ring, because the transport of food materials are taking place from translocation, it is called, taking place from leaves to the remaining parts of the plant, means from upper parts to the lower parts. So here we interrupted by removing the bark along with the phloem. We made a ring such that the food material is stopped here itself. That's why here growth occurs, stem will be bulging. Okay, and this process is done. Okay, so any damage to the phloem all around the stem will prevent the food from passing down to the roots, and the tree will eventually die. This is a fact of great economic importance, because certain mammals scratching the bark of trees to get the food stored in the phloem, especially during hard winters when the food is scarce. Okay, voles do this to young saplings at ground level, and rabbits can do much damage to older ones. The foresters find it economically worthwhile to enclose new plantations with wire netting to prevent rabbits from entering. Okay, the foresters also encourage the predators such as foxes, badgers, hawks, and owls, as they help to keep down the population of voles and rabbits. This is called biological control. Grey squirrels too do great damage, particularly to the beech and sycamore, and for this reason in some parts it is impossible to grow these trees as a crop. Okay, you observe the barks of trees in your surroundings for evidence of bark having been gnawed off saplings and trees. So note the species of trees and the position of the damage, whether the damage is recent or old, and the size of the tooth mark. If these are visible from these observations, you could find out which species had caused the damage. Also look out for the effects of such damage on the trees as a whole. Okay children, this is the end of the lesson. Hope you followed. Read the textbook. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon for receiving latest updates.